Word on the street. FisMaz show. What's the word on the street? Like who got the beats that be killing the game? Who's up on the scale? Who playing who? What's the score on the sheet? Fiso the Prince got him taking the seat. Got the legends giving us the 411. Fiso Maz from the 031. No hated sports and entertainment when we got it all and we the only ones. And after all that action, never have a dripping hot passion. Drippy on some rich municipal stylish and soak up with passion. If it's giving us less, then we never settle. Make sure you pull up and bring all your medals. Sit back and relax, let's go. It's FisMaz bringing you the FisMaz show. It's the FisMaz show. It's the FisMaz show. It's the FisMaz show. It's the FisMaz show.
Yo, what up, what up, what up? This is the one, the only DJ Nays. Hope you're keeping up and keeping it well, man. You are currently locked into the one, the only Forex father, or as you know it, the FisMaz show. You know, shout out to my man Fiso doing big things right now. Forex father, take it home.
Hello everyone, well, it's all been happening in South African football. Bafana, of course, out in Europe doing their thing. And plenty happening within the world of club football in the country. A lot of people are focusing on Kaizer Chiefs and perhaps them underachieving. Orlando Pirates being in terrible form. And we've seen some big news coming out of KwaZulu-Natal. And that is the Benni McCarthy era is over. Now we did do a small little snippet into that. We're looking at that with regards to how it went, why he, I guess, got the sack or mutually left the club, whatever they want to call it. But I thought, let's dig deeper. Let's look at that whole Benni era and look at it in a little bit more detail. So I made sure that I went down to KwaZulu. And yes, there's animals running around and there's people who have their spears chasing them. You know how it goes down there? No, jokes aside, man. Welcome to the FisMaz show. I've got Madlala from the Daily Sun who's joining me. He is a football journalist. I've got Menzi Ngcobo, a man who himself used to be a scribe and he decided to run away from that profession. Such was his love for the game of football, and now he's managed to find himself teaching as well. And of course, a man who's been heavily involved as a football administrator as well as a football intermediary agent, whatever you want to call it. So a man who knows his stuff. Both these men best in KZN, of course. So I thought that'd be perfect for this particular show. Let me bring them in. Gentlemen, first and foremost, Menzi, we always have you on the show. So we're not going to start with you. I'm going to start with the man himself, Madlala. Welcome to the FisMaz show. Yeah, it's really good to have you.
Thank you, Fiso. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, looking forward to obviously discussing all things Amazulu today. Menzi Ngcobo. Menzi, yeah, I mean, what a time. You know, I wanted to get you in last week with regards to what potentially it means for Usuthu. Take me through your thoughts.
Well, you know, during the week, I spoke a little bit with Ujuk. And I heard him just before we started recording saying it came as a huge surprise. For me, it wasn't a surprise. The writing was on the wall. I feel like there was a massive relationship breakdown at the Amazulu camp, particularly between Benni and the players. And I know obviously a lot has been said between what happened with Benni and management. For me, it was the loss of the change room, which was the first sign or telltale sign that something is about to go wrong. Because when he came in, like we spoke about a couple of months ago, I think last season, when he first came in with a huge raucous affair and the airport entourage and the Zulu Kingdom welcoming him with open arms, I knew then that this was a big project and they needed the right person, and he was at the time because he came with a big personality. And to be honest with you, they punched way above their weight when it came to what they achieved. The mandate was top 4, he got top 2. So obviously it got a bit juicy and a bit spicy at the time. And after he lost his change room, for me, the writing was on the wall. But I'm sure we'll discuss it in greater detail how we got to him losing his change room.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for that point. I mean, I guess that's where I want to start, right at the very beginning. Obviously, the fanfare was there, and maybe you can come in as someone who would have been on the ground, obviously reporting on this. When Benni McCarthy came, it was a sign of intent, wasn't it, from Usandile Zungu as the incoming chairman, and of course for Amazulu, a team who always just seemed to flirt with relegation. It seemed like, okay, could this really be happening? Could the words of Sandile Zungu and that first press conference really be true? Are they gunning for top 4 and I guess a sustained push as a giant in South African football?
Yeah, where to start from this? Benni arrived on the 12th of December 2020, right? As my friend has been saying, that it was an excitement, at King Shaka International, him coming through, giving the coronation of the Zulu nation, you know what I'm saying? And he absolutely completely changed things around. I mean, Amazulu were position 13 when he arrived. And then they only had 6 points after 7 games. After the time where they claim Ayanda Dlamini voluntarily stepped down, as a Amazulu coach by then. So we were all excited that there's a big name in Amazulu, because the last time Amazulu had someone like a big name coach was Clive Barker. We have seen Pam Green, Steve Barker, Vukusic, all those guys were just coming to patch in, just the end of the season for Amazulu to survive. But now they had someone, you could see the intention of Zunguness, of Zungu guys, that they wanted to, to perform well this to reach a mandate of top 4. But Benni did more than that. Finished in the top 4, qualified for the Champions League. They won a Q Innovation, becoming the first club from KwaZulu-Natal to do so. You know what I'm saying? He also won a few Coach of the Month awards. Become the first Amazulu since Calvin Johnson as well, with the Velimotwa, and also Tapelo Ngcobo was also won a goal of the month. So there was so much that was just flowing like a snowball. Everything was just flowing for them very well. So this season, I think that was just the success of last season was just a poison chalice for them to emulate, because Benni said, I need the squad to go and challenge for the Champions, because there's going to be an addition of, if in the INCAF, there is a preliminary stages, if it's just 2 games, and also there's a first round, if it's another 2 game, and then you qualify for the knockout, the quarterfinal, the group stages. And then Benni with the squad, he said it was stretched. It was going to stretch them. That's why, you look at Desan Buchanan, Kunene, Sise, Teshas Malepe, Plan Zulu, Tepang Moreng, Lindan Shang was promoted, and then Hoto Moreng. And then you can see these guys, these players, they were not going to help Amazulu. They were absolutely not going to lift Amazulu to another level and then, match the success of last season. So Benni was frustrated, especially in January, when they unveiled Boka Mobara and Abramacho. And then I said to myself, he couldn't even speak when they unveiled those guys, because you could see in his face. And that's why I said to myself, Benni won't last until the end of the season. I knew that he won't last until the end of the season. And then these guys were just so poor. I look at the results, 6 games, guys, in domestic. They haven't won any match since they beat Sundowns in December last year at Kings Park Stadium. And 6 games, but in the Champions they were doing very well. They had 6 points after 4 matches, but it was not working in the league. I remember when they came to Congo, they played against Sekukune at Ellis Park. It was so very bad. And then they came back and against TS Galaxy when Abramacho missed the sitter, guys, just to knock the ball in the back of it. He completely miscued it. That's why I said Benni frustration already went over the top. And also for him, I think the last one was not to get the Argentinian guy they called Facundo Juarez, because he's a free agent. They couldn't get him. He said he's more similar to Emiliano Tardi. Tardi went to sign by Sundowns. He said he's the player that was able to unlock him and also score goals, but he couldn't get hold. They couldn't get him. But when we speak to Zungu, why he couldn't get him, he said the guy was injured. But on the Benni side, he was not injured. So the communication breakdown also started there. And then the meeting after meeting, Benni was absolutely, unhappy. And the issue of Sitabe, that one is the last one also to Benni, that he couldn't able to select Sitabe because he signed a pre-contract with Kaizer Chiefs. Guys, I can talk about what you think.
Look, Duke, we don't mind that. Obviously, you're giving us some really good insights with regards to, I guess, what has gone on at Amazulu. Menzi, maybe come in here, with regards to that, because it sounds like, from what Duke is saying there with regards to the Benni era, it sounds like a coach who wanted certain things done and felt that perhaps he had earned them, with the heroics from the previous season, and they just never got done. But was the reaction the right one from him to perhaps not roll up his sleeves and say, okay, let me work with what I've got? Was he in the right to, I guess, be a little bit of a negative apple within that Amazulu camp and potentially, like you're saying, losing the change room? I'm playing devil's advocate here. So share your thoughts, Menzi.
Look, Fiso, I'm so glad Robin has laid it out so nicely for us with the historical background, the then, the now, and the possible future, obviously, which we're also going to talk about. But for me, one, Majok was Benny's player. Robin will confirm or deny that for me later. He was not a signing by the Zungus. Majok was a Benny signing because Benny felt like they were thin in the striking department. So Majok was a Benny player, but we'll come back to that later. Getting back to all these little bits and pieces of the crumbling or the falling down of the castle, if you were. One, Benny, I feel, suffered from former player syndrome. Now, what is former player syndrome? You judge your players based on how you performed when you were a player. That's the first cardinal sin you can commit as a former player turned into a coach. When you become a coach, you need to treat players like players, not players like teammates, number one. So he felt like the standards that they were reaching were not the standards that were adequate to his personal belief or his personal standard. Why? He drops Ubongintulu. Ubongintulu was hot property for 4 or 5 seasons. Robin will attest to this. He then drops Umajoro, who, in all intents and purposes, had resurrected his career at Amazulu. He started scoring goals, had already established himself as one of the top picks in the side when they're going into any competition. He's gone out of the team. He brings back Ushaka Zulu's Pelele Mtebu to try and fill the void. A guy who's probably scored 2 goals in the past 50 or 40 matches. Ujuk will give me the stats with regards to that. He's obviously not going to solve the problem. And what does he do? He starts dropping some of the favorite marquee signings that the Zungus made. Ujuk will remind me, this player from Pirates, the midfielder, he drops him. He's now in and out of the team. Umbata falls out of favor. They now have to change the goalkeeping department. And one other critical factor, guys, the squad overall is aging. It's an aging squad. So Benni was not wrong to say the squad needs to be refreshed. He was not wrong to say the squad needs to sign new players or the team needs to sign new players to start competing at a high level. He was quite correct by that, but the approach was wrong. Because again, you also have to understand the other dynamic that the Zungus are coming into football as a family-run business for the first time. The dynamics are different when it comes to the other business ventures that they've been a part of. There are so many historical dynamics that form part and parcel of the decision-making process when it comes to running a football club. It's not just picking the right coach and signing the best players and putting a team together and start winning competitions. It's a whole dynamic affair that has to go into account. So the advice that they were getting from whoever is advising them also played a role in terms of who they got as their next coach. So now you look at all of these factors. I feel it was a recipe for disaster. They were victims of their own success because what happened, it happened too quickly. It could have been staggered over 2 or 3 seasons so that they can start establishing a more sustainable way of playing, a more sustainable presence in the market when it comes to transfers or buying of players, a more sustainable playing style, a more consistent starting 11 so that you know what's okay. If you're playing Amazulu, this is the first 11 that they're going to pick. Right now, they have an inconsistent starting 11. They have an inconsistent playing style. The coach is always complaining about the players not finishing. The Zungus have stopped coming to the home matches. The support from the family has been drawn back a little bit. So you can see that all of a sudden, there's trouble in paradise. So all of these dynamics, I feel, have added to what we see now as Benni walks away from his job.
I mean, I'm listening to a lot of the things that you're mentioning there, and no doubt everyone who's listening and tuning in will take a lot from it. It almost feels like, and look, I'm trying to be respectful in what I'm going to say, but almost feels like petulance on both parties, you know? Okay, you don't want to listen to us, so we're not coming to the game. Or you don't want to give me your players, I'm going to mess things up. I struggle to, I mean, Benni, a top player in his time. Surely a guy like that understands the importance of senior pros within a change room. You know, you look at Spiwa Shabalala, he couldn't get a kick, and well, I don't know how the relationship was with them. Tsepo Masilela seems to have also been thrown to the wayside. You've mentioned Tuli, you've mentioned, of course, Majoro, all senior pros who have done it at the highest level for a long time and know how to play at a top club. Am I correct in saying that perhaps both parties could have come to the table and I guess discuss things a little bit better? Duke, you want to maybe break that down for us?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. But from where I'm standing, I think Benni is not a sustainable coach, someone who can build for the next, let's say, next 3 years. You know, we also saw that Cape Town City came, reached a final, they lost, and then the following season they win them in the MTN8. The following season things went to haywire. He was fired in November to 2019 by Cape Town City. So when it comes to sustainability, I think that like to identify players that he feel that they can help him. I think that there is a problem. You look at Bongintuli, guys. Bongintuli in 2019-2020 season, he was a top scorer for Amazulu. Amazulu guys scored 22 goals in the league. Ntuli scored 13. And then last season, Ntuli is frozen out. This season, Ntuli is hardly playing. I mean, you can't be a bad player overnight. You know what I'm saying? So Benni McCarthy, what I also feel for him is he's not a good in terms of motivation and man management. As much as we see him, he was a brilliant player, scoring 2 goals at Old Trafford in the Champions League and so forth. I mean, when it comes to management, as much as, you know, as I said, you're a big player, you know, playing days, but when it comes to management of players, you're different characters because players are coming from different backgrounds. You know what I'm saying? So you also yourself.
I want to jump in there, you know, and I mean, I'm going to let you continue, but the irony of that is Benni McCarthy almost seemed to be a player who needed a good management, who was a hothead as a player, who was a player who, if you didn't have him on side, could potentially cause a bit of a problem. So it's surprising that he comes out as a coach and it's not an attribute that he understands well. You understand? I don't know if that makes sense, but if as a player who understood the importance of having a coach with an arm around you, how do you then go into a change room and be destructive, if I can call it that?
For me, I seriously wish to see of what the change room was like when he motivated him after they lost the game, because I think he also needed to learn also from that. Because I was listening to Rob Moore the other day to say, guys, Ben's got personality. He will not run in circles. He will just tell you if you played bad. I mean, you played bad. He will tell you played bad. You know what I'm saying? And then he said, if you don't want to coach like that, then good luck to your report. Good luck to your league, because Ben is not a robot. You know what I'm saying? So I like that part of him, you know, of being a straight talker. You know what I'm saying? But to some other players, they won't receive that well. You know what I'm saying? So I think that also part that Benni needs to learn, because I mean, to come out and blasting players the way you used to blast. You know, I also felt at some point, you know, this is not right. You cannot come out and blast the players like that. Do that behind the scene, not in the public. Everyone can see. And then in the following game, you're gonna need these guys. You know what I'm saying? I think that was also another downfall for him. With someone that is replacing him right now, guys, he was how many draws he achieved as Swallows? Amazulu got more draws than now. So that's another interesting part.
And I mean, we're gonna get to that replacement. You know, Menzi knows I'm a massive Manchester United fan, and you know, I have to make this reference because it's almost similar. You know, you look at Jose Mourinho when he leaves Man United. He's called everyone out. He's called big players out. He's benched Pogba. He's done this. And he's just said, I don't have players, you know, having finished second the previous year with Manchester United. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, does it, Menzi? Because it seems like he seems to really follow in Mourinho's footsteps.
He does. And again, both of you would know, I've said this to you, Fiso, and I'm sure Ujuk and I, in some interaction in some stadium somewhere in Durban, we've spoken about this before, that the South African football player is a very unique creature. You have to treat them with kitten gloves. They are like, I don't know, I know you mentioned something about a poison chalice. They are like, you know, that expensive china that your parents keep in the room or in the house that they never give to anyone, even on special occasions.
It's only for guests, that one.
Only for guests.
Yeah. You're not touching it.
Yeah, I mean, South African football players are so delicate, so fragile. They are such emotional creatures. And I know probably this needs another episode to discuss that. But straight shooters like Benni McCarthy are not built for the South African football player in the change room. South African football players can be very vindictive. They can band up together and they can cause you to be fired without them actually speaking and saying, hi, we're going to lose the ball or we're going to score own goals. Ujuk knows this. South African football players like to be treated with kitten gloves. It is the responsibility of the manager/coach to understand the personality of each player. For example, Umakeke Makaula, he can take being blasted. because he's a strong character. But Uxola Mlambo, he can't take being plastered because he feels like he's a prima donna. He feels like he's a superstar. He feels like he needs to be treated differently because he's got silky touches and he's got silky skills. Joro, he wears his heart on his sleeve just like Benni. He's a fighter, he's a warrior, he's been through the wars. He feels like a person like Benni should be able to come, put his arm around his shoulder and say, listen, Major, listen, Major, this is what I want from you. I mean, you have a striker, Zambian international striker like Umulenga, who's now being played out wide on the left. Those they need to be treated in a certain way, You're blending in the youth with the experience. You need to be able to understand how to deal with all of these things. And again, I'll put my hand up. Who am I to tell Benni, a Champions League winner and a multiple Portuguese championship winner, how to coach? He could probably call me out and say, who is this Menzi telling me what to do? But at the end of the day, the dynamics at play here are people management. It falls down to people management. People management on the side of the team, how he manages his squad, how he manages his support staff, how he manages the media. How does he speak about his players in public? Because the players watch what we post. The players watch what he says after post-match interviews. The players watch what he says in pre-match interviews and post-match press conferences. They react to that. The players react to him not playing a legend like Spio Shabalala the entire season because he feels he's worthless. The players react to Wuti. We've signed Xtian, but he can't even get a sniff at a starting 11, even against Kukuni. The players react to that. The players react to Wuti. If you have a tip with Umbata, you don't even give him a second chance. He has a complete fallout with Monique Josephs, a complete fallout with Benni. He gets X'd or axed out of the club. Then you bring in a Veli Motor who, all intents and purposes, is starting to decline because Boshop is not good enough competition for him. So now you have positions where there's no competition. You've got positions where there's players who feel they should be treated a certain way. You've got players that feel aggrieved. The coach just blasted me in the post-match interview. There's no calming down session, a repetitive session afterwards. He doesn't deal with the psychology of the players. He feels like football should be played with heart and with passion. And if you don't score, if you miss a pass, or if you miss control of ball, you must be told. You can't play football like that. We all know that, guys. And again, maybe when you bring me in again, I want to speak about the relationship between him and the management of Amazulu, because also that had a bit of a clash and had a lot to do with the decline in performances.
Sure.
Also, I can jump in.
Yeah, go for it too.
Yeah, because if you remember, guys, when Benni was appointed, he said, I want to challenge Mamelodi Sundowns and Kaizer Chiefs. I want to challenge those three, the so-called big team in South Africa. And Zungu promised him that I will give you what you want. So Benni, as I said, couldn't get what he wanted. And I hear Menzi when he's saying that my job was this. Okay, if it was this, then he shot himself in the foot, because absolutely, guys, the guy was even called up by Sudan. He didn't play in those AFCON qualifiers, the preliminaries that are just ongoing right now. You know what I'm saying? So there were so many things that fell off the wayside. And also you talk about the issue of Majoro. Majoro last played against Mamelodi Sundowns in that historic win I spoke about. Majoro has fallen up with the Benni McCarthy. He's nowhere to be seen. You know what I'm saying? And also, Benni, one thing that he also spoke about, Amazulu let him down to get a proper left back. You know, Mabiliso, who went to Kaizer Chiefs, was giving him a good outlet to Augustine Molenga in that left channel, because that guy had the energy, still a young man, 21, 22, bombing down, up and down. And then Benni in January said, I tried to sign Bongani Sam from Pirates. Pirates said no. You know, I'm sure you remember when he even came out, you know, with a statement in order to the radio show, where he said, I wanted to get Bongani Sam because Bongani Sam, of which Bongani Sam is all represented by Rob Moore, Benni McCarthy's agent, that was going to give him a proper outlet to complement Augustine Molenga. And then Molenga, when the season started, he suffered an injury. He was out for a long time, and there were also issues of COVID-19. So many things that just fall off for him very badly, that now I remember even the last press conference when in the loss against Raja Casablanca, he said he thought things were going to change, but he couldn't. Just said the planning from the beginning, it was very bad. But remember, Benni also spent 2 weeks in Scotland with his wife after Amazulu started the preseason. So also on its own, I don't know that how much effect it have in this team in terms of preparation coming to this season.
Yeah, I mean, this is something we can unpack all day, I'm sure, you know. I'm sitting here and thinking, man, what could have been? What could have been if both parties, I guess, remained aligned? What could have been? Benni seems like a talented young coach who potentially could still find his way to one of the Soweto Giants, maybe Kaizer Chiefs, Menzi. But I mean, you look at what could have been, you know, who would have thought that, and maybe this is being dramatic, but in my lifetime, I never thought I'd see Amazulu playing CAF Champions League. I never thought I'd see Amazulu competing for a title or being right up there with the Mamelodi Sundowns, you know, finishing higher than Chiefs and Pirates. Who would have thought? So it's a little bit sad, you know, in my view. I love Benni McCarthy. I guess you've spoken about, I guess, that firebrand kind of a character. I've always appreciated that, and it's difficult to take it. And I guess you guys understand that South African play a lot better. But yeah, what could have been, Menzi?
Well, we can speculate all we like. What we do know is that he's not there anymore. And I could tell you, I know I've spoken to another coach friend of mine, Dylan Kerr. I told him before he got the Swallows job that, hey, coach, there's a job there for you in Durban, because the waters seem to be a bit stormy down in Durban. And he's like, hey, what's happening? But let me tell you the honest truth. What could have been is that maybe they could have come to terms and tried to understand each other. Now I'm talking about the Zulus and Benni. If you get a character like Usuthu, who's equally aspiring, equally as ambitious, who equally wears his heart on his sleeve, who does not take no for an answer, who does not take second best for anything on earth, you get a situation where you've got two big characters who are at the helm of a very successful club, and a club that is, all intents and purposes, like I said earlier, who's punching above their weight. I think there could have been something that could have been done there to try and mediate. But I feel like there was no mediator in that relationship to try and sort of calm the waters, to get the two parties to sit on the table and try and iron things out and get back onto the drawing board and say, right, what do we want to achieve as a club? Where are we getting it wrong and where are we getting it right? And again, I have to say, they may have got it wrong, Amazulu, when they came to the appointment of the general manager. Someone who has no experience of football, someone who doesn't have experience of handling a big personality and a big character like Benni McCarthy, I feel had a lot to do with that as well. I don't want to name and shame people, but Chuchuk is nodding. He knows what I'm talking about. He was not able to handle the agent versus player relationship well. He was not able to handle the Benni versus player relationship very well. He also seemed to be a bit of a fiery character. I bumped into him, you know, on the matches one of these days, a couple of weeks ago, and he seemed to be a bit of a fiery character as well, which is not a recipe for success. If you have a fiery character who's in charge of making things, that could have happened. And I feel like Robin was saying, Benni is not a coach for the long term. Benni is a flash in the pan. Give me the best players. The players will respond to it because he's a big personality, former Champions League winner. The players will rise to the occasion. Season 2 and season 3 are always the telltale sign of whether the team is going to be successful over the long run or not. And dare I say, I don't think Amazulu will be able to reach the heights they did last season. The trajectory that they are going now and the recent appointment that they've just made shows me that there might be a chink in the chain, because for sure Benni must have come at a hefty price to get him to be there, first of all. For sure it must have come at a hefty price to cut the contract short. For sure it must come at a hefty price to manage the entire payroll salary of all those players that we got when the Zungus started making those purchases. And I think it might start to be hurting the pocket of the Zungus. So they might start to do a bit of damage control, sort of reining things back a little bit and readjusting how they're doing things. And you know how that goes, Robin, now if you saw. Once you start making the changes in the bank balances and how you're spending your money, it starts to show in the field. And unfortunately, we can never know how life would have been if Benni stayed on for another 2 seasons, because he didn't.
Yeah, he didn't.
I don't know if I come in there.
Go for it.
You know, Menzi, I think 5 people have told me that this guy, you know, the promise that they made, they're gonna go and sign players and buy players. Things are starting to change. It's hitting them hard in the pocket. You know, even someone said to me, don't be surprised in the next 3 or 4 years, these guys, they sell Amazulu. I said, no, you gotta be joking. With so much promise that they said when the club reach 100 years in 1930, they want to win 3 or 4 league titles. He said to me, absolutely, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. In 3 or 4 times down the line, this guy, they're going to sell the players. And then you rightly saw, Menzi, that, Benni McCarthy doesn't come cheap, guys. They're getting someone like Brendan Truth. Of course, there's coach Richard Bay, Swallows. We saw the miracle he did, the Swallows promoting them. And also, last season. But he's going to come as cheap, guys. In terms of the pay that he would require, it's not the same as Benni. So, that's why I think with them saying, no, he's coming as interim coach, it's just bluffing us. That guy, they're gonna appoint him come maybe end of the season, or maybe it may not be him, but I don't think they're gonna go and appoint someone who's at the top level, like they had someone of Benni McCarthy, or because I thought, for me, if you fire someone like Benni McCarthy, you may go someone like Gavin Hunt. I know people are saying Gavin Hunt is not a coach, but Gavin Hunt, guys, we've seen the work that he did at Vets. He was so smart, also with someone who was working behind him in terms of general manager and the CEO of the club, because they were very smart in getting the players who are out of contract. Menzi spoke about the general manager of Amazulu, which is Mofokeng. He doesn't know about football. You know what I'm saying? Be smart. There are people like the Gordon Mason, who knows how like
Menzi was trying to keep the name out of the headlines, and Duke was like, bang, bang.
we can't keep them, but the guy is not smart when it comes to players contract coming to an end. You can go look at what the guys like Bobby Motang. How many Bobby Motang things he has done in terms of ruffling the feathers of other clubs? Look at with this table now, with awesome abilities. As a general manager, this is your job. You must go and entice players to say, guys, we got the player. This is how much money you're gonna give it to you. And then afterward, give him a signing on fee, let him go. I remember I spoke to Gordon Masondo when they signed Lim Biganim Zafa from Arrows, who was wanted by Karachi Tomato Sundowns. He went to him and said, hey boy, I know at Mpumalanga Black Cases, this is how much money you're gonna get. And he gave him a signing on fee, and then he signed him a contract at the hotel. And then he said, go home in Malawi, in Blantyre. And then when Pirates went and acquired to sign him, I said, okay, I've done a deal with Gordon Arrows. So he was smart in that level. The guy that Amazulu have right now, he has no clue whatsoever. But in terms of how to handle, in terms of players, in terms of signing and also contract renewal, he doesn't know anything about it. This is not corporate government. This is football. You have to be smart. You need authorities to run this football.
Yeah, I think we can end it there, because number one, we're out of time, and number two, hey, yeah, it's the FisMaz show, and we're always bringing you all of the hottest talking points. And yeah, these two gentlemen have broken it down beautifully. Brendan Truth taking over at Amazulu. Will he last? Will he not last? Will he become their permanent appointment? I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think we're going to keep a close eye on Amazulu as a football club, not because all three of us are from that part of the world, but purely because they are a big club in South Africa, a historic club, and a team that is in the news at the moment. So yeah, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I got to let you go. Menzi, yeah, man, you know how we do. Duke, I loved your energy, man. I loved it. And I hope we'll chat some more in future. But I got to let you guys go. I really appreciate it. From the FisMaz show to you, thank you very much. And we're hoping that, plenty more good things will come.
Thank you, Fiso. Thank you, good work you're doing there. You make some of us envious. You're doing a wonderful job at sports.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Enjoy your day. And yeah, it's a wrap for the FisMaz show. Goodbye.